Hello folks, I'm Dr. Andrew Pittman and this is my How to Study for Pittman's Playlist video. This is really a pretty simple thing to accomplish, but it may be daunting. I'm sure most of you have never taken a listening exam before, and I get that. But if you apply some old-fashioned study skills, you can accomplish this with virtually 100% every time. What I'm finding today as a teacher, and particularly over the last 5 to 7 years, the students come to me and they just didn't learn how to study. I don't know what's going on, if high school was just too easy. I don't know. But there really are techniques to learn how to study. I will say this, if you haven't done a lot of hardcore studying and you've mostly had multiple choice questions or lots of online learning, putting your nose to the book and really memorizing hard facts is very tedious. It's very tedious. Your brain won't want to do it. But just like anything else, you get better at it. And the analogy I'm going to use here for most of this is learning lines in a play. Okay? If you've never been in a play before, you will be amazed at how difficult it is to memorize a couple of paragraphs of words. And you think, well, that's no big deal. Well, it's not. But get in front of people the next day, and do you have it 100%? And you'll find that you don't in a major way. I've taught some acting classes. Kids really don't understand how difficult it is to be that precise. So you have to overstudy to make sure that you've got 100% on the day of pressure. So in that case, the actual performance, in our case, actually taking the test. But here's the thing, you get better at it. So for me, I'm someone that does a play once every couple of years. I wish I could do more. But what I always find is Act 1 is a nightmare. I have a really hard time getting Act 1 down. But when I get to Act 2, it goes at least twice as fast, if not more. The brain gets better at it. So that's what I'm going to suggest to do here. So up on the board here, you have a playlist. This isn't the playlist, but this is a key from one of my tests, okay? But so your playlist kind of looks like that. But you're going to have pieces, and the pieces are put into the different eras. And so those eras are Middle Ages, Renaissance, Baroque, Classical, Romantic, and 20th century. Okay, so I will give a test on each era. Now, as we move forward from the Middle Ages, let me be clear. When we get to the Renaissance, these two go together in one test because there's not a lot of information. But when we get to the Baroque period, for instance, I will test you mostly on the new pieces from the Baroque era, but I will still throw in a few questions about stuff from the past. Okay, and the same thing with the Classical era will be mostly classical, but I'll ask a few questions about Baroque and Middle Ages and Renaissance. And the reason I do this is to ensure that the material stays with you. Today, for the most part, kids learn stuff for a test and then they literally forget it the next day. Well, that's not the point of school. The point of school is for this to stay with you. So the reason I want this playlist to stay with you is my guess is you will not remember most of the facts from the chapter quizzes in the book. That's just a reality of life. But you will remember the music. And so from now on for the rest of your life, you will be able to hear the differences in time periods based upon just knowing a few pieces. I think there's only 32 pieces on your list. The 32, while not a lot, is actually enough to be able to go, no, that's Baroque music. And then you think, well, I don't know a lot of composers, but I know Handel and I know Bach. That's good enough. That's good enough for Jeopardy, okay? And that's all we're looking for this. This is supposed to be a survey course of Western music. So, all right, how do we study? So what I would suggest for you to do first is to listen in a very general way. Let me move this over. Okay, so you listen to Imperadissum while you're looking at the 5 facts about it. The title, composer, genre, era, other. So while you're listening, you go Imperadissum, anonymous, plain chant, Middle Ages, monophonic. Same thing when you get to the Renaissance era, you listen, you go, okay, that's Kyrie, Josquin, it's from a mass, Renaissance, points of imitation. All right, very general, not long at all. But then you have to study and study hard, okay? And what do I mean by that is that you would grab your playlist, okay, and you would go Imperadissum, anonymous, plain chant, Middle Ages, monophonic. And you put the paper behind your back. And you go, oh shoot, I can't even remember. So Imperadissum, anonymous, plain chant, Middle Ages, monophonic. So Imperadissum, anonymous, it's plain chant, it's from the Middle Ages, it's monophonic. Imperadissum, anonymous, plain chant, Middle Ages, monophonic. And once you're like, okay, I've got that, maybe not great, but you've got it, then you move on to the second one. So this is from a different era, but I'm doing it anyway. So this is Kyrie, Josquin, Mass, Renaissance, points of imitation. So then what you do is Kyrie, Josquin, it's from a Mass, Renaissance, points of imitation. Kyrie, what is it? Kyrie by Josquin, Mass, Renaissance, points of imitation. Okay, I've got that. And then before you move on to number 3, you go, can I do the first 2 together? So that would be Imperadissum, Anonymous, Plain Chant, Middle Ages, Monophonic. Then Kyrie by Josquin. It's from a Mass. It's from the Renaissance period. Points of imitation. And repeat. Don't, okay? And unless you can get those first 2, don't move on to the third one. And when you get the third one, this is La Primavera, Vivaldi, Violin Concerto, Baroque period, and it's from the Four Seasons, okay? So La Primavera, Vivaldi, Violin Concerto, Baroque music from the Four Seasons, okay? Now, once I'm sure I've got that, then I put all 3 together, but start from the beginning. So I know I'm having to remember what that was because I didn't actually study for this like I should have. But anyhow, so that is Imperadissum, Anonymous, Plain Chant, from the Middle Ages, Monophonic. Then the next one was Kyrie by Josquin. It's from a Mass. It's from the Renaissance period and points of imitation. And then my next one would have been La Primavera, Vivaldi, Violin Concerto from the Baroque period, and it's from the Four Seasons. You see what I'm getting at? And that's tedious. You might have to look at it and put it down like you're learning lines or learning a poem over and over and over again. But that's the way to do this, folks. And then once you are really confident, and it depends on who you are. To study for the Baroque test, it might take someone over here, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes. But someone else, it might take an hour. I don't know. But here's the cool thing about it. If you really study for the Middle Ages and Renaissance, and you really know it, well, when you get to the Baroque, you'll only have to study the new stuff for the Baroque because you'll remember this so well. And if you study really hard from the Baroque, when we get to classical, you won't have to go back and review and fix all these holes. You'll just know it that well. Maybe you'll review a little bit, but like actually the class will get easier instead of harder. But if you barely study for this and you barely study for that, then the class will continue getting harder or you'll just make a bad grade. So what I find in this class, especially online, is on these listening exams, there are usually 100s or there's 50 or less. There's nothing in between. Either you really studied for it or you didn't. It's really that simple. I hope this helps. By the way, this is a great way to study for your periodic tables or definitions or nursing exams or anything. It's just tedious. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot the last part. After you've learned the facts, you need to make sure that when you hear the music, you recall the facts. But here's what's really cool. So I wrote, listen here and be specific. So, Imperadissum, you're going to go, but Pittman, I don't really know music. Yeah, you don't really have to, at least not at first. Imperadissum, what do the singers say? They go, Imperadissum. You hear them say the words right off the bat. So you don't need to be a good musician to hear what they just said. So all you need is a little bit of that music, the first 5 seconds to trigger this in your brain. And then you go, oh, Imperadissum, that's anonymous composer, because we don't know who it is, and it's plain chant, and it's Middle Ages, and it's monophonic. You see what I mean? All you need is one little specific thing about the music to then trigger the title, which will then give you all the other facts. And that's the secret to this. La Primavera, no one is singing. Most of our pieces have singing, so that should make it easy. You've got actually words like here. The Kyrie, they just go Kyrie, Kyrie. That's all they sing. This should be easy. The La Primavera, you hear this dum bum 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 ba da dum bum 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 ba da dum. If that doesn't trigger your memory, by the way, you've probably heard that in commercials. There's a part about 30 seconds in that sounds like birds chirping. It's unmistakable. So if that's all you recognize from that, birds chirping, La Primavera, which essentially means first season or spring. Okay, spring, Vivaldi Violin Concerto from the Four Seasons. You'll be able to get it. And then after you've done the specific study to where all you need to say 10 or 20 seconds or maybe even less to get the piece, then what I would do is ask a friend to play Drop the Needle. Have someone play you the examples randomly. If you can do that, you're going to be golden. Another way to approach this, which I've had people do, is go onto YouTube, make yourself a playlist, play it in your car while you're driving around. Just play the music in the background. Most of you, within 3 seconds, sometimes sooner, know all your favorite songs, all your favorite popular songs. I know that's true for me. The pop music that I know, sometimes even within a half a second, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what that is. Why? Are you a brilliant musician? No. It's just the human brain. You've listened to it so many times that it's unmistakable to you. Even certain quirks of someone coughing in the background, well, listen to this more and you'll be golden. It's only 32 pieces. That's nothing. I probably could name you 500 or 600 pop songs, and I'm not a pop song guy. Okay? There's so much music. Our brain is capable of so much. There you go. That's how to study. In a nutshell, listen, really memorize these facts, then listen again, find something specific that will trigger the title for you, then play Drop the Needle, and you'll have it. All right? Good luck.